With Joe Biden and Donald Trump set to face off in the 2020 presidential election, the Electoral College plays a crucial role in determining the winner. In this video, I'm going to go over the basics of how it works, the factors which will play into deciding the outcome, and an analysis of the current situation for both parties across the Electoral College map. If you want to skip around, timestamps will be in the description. The system in which the United States determines its presidents, known as the Electoral College, functions by assigning each U.S. state and Washington, D.C. a number of Electoral College votes based on population. For most states, a winner-take-all system is used, meaning whichever candidate wins the popular vote in the state gains all of its Electoral College votes. The exception to this rule is Maine and Nebraska, whose electoral points are won by winning the state at large, and then each congressional district. In Maine there are 2, while in Nebraska there are 3. The total number of votes across the country is 538, and therefore in order to win the presidency, a candidate must gain at least 270.
The people, my people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
This description of voters by Donald Trump quite accurately describes what are known as solid states, areas where large Democrat or Republican support guarantees victories for the given party. An example of a solid Democratic state would be California, where polls place Biden 27 points above Donald Trump. States such as North Dakota, a solid Republican state, have not been polled at all simply because it has been so historically safe for the GOP. For Joe Biden, these states include the Pacific Coast, parts of the Northeast, and Illinois, giving him a sturdy base of 183 electoral votes. For Donald Trump, Alaska, much of the Great Plains, the South, and parts of the Midwest bring him to 126. It is from this position that each candidate must enter the more competitive states in order to climb to the crucial 270. Fortunately for Joe Biden, several other states are categorized as likely pickups for the vice president. These primarily consist of states which Hillary Clinton won in 2016. While these are not certainly pickups for the Democrats, looking at the favorability and popularity of Joe Biden as well as strong Democratic support in previous years, it is a realistic expectation that Joe Biden can depend on these states. These include Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Minnesota, Virginia, and Maine at large. Adding these electoral votes to his current total brings the Democrats to 228, 4 short of Hillary Clinton's total in 2016. The final 4 electoral votes come from New Hampshire, which was especially close in 2016, where fewer than 3,000 votes decided the victor. For that reason, it is the only state that Clinton won, which I will leave out of this category. In the case that Donald Trump were to win any of these states which he failed to win in 2016 would indicate the growth of his support, and considering his large margin of victory against Clinton, it would signify a decisive defeat for the Biden campaign. As for Donald Trump, there are 3 states in particular which he can likely depend on going into November. These include Texas, Iowa, and Ohio, as well as Maine's 2nd District, bringing his total to 189. Taking a closer look at Ohio and Iowa, these states, which during 2008 and 2012 were considered battlegrounds, have been trending in the direction of the Republicans in recent years. In fact, Ohio voted more in support of the GOP than even Alaska, with Iowa being not far behind. However, it should be noted that at the time of making this video, Iowa and Ohio have a net disapproval of the president of -8 and -5 respectively. Unfortunately for the Biden campaign, early polling data does not suggest that this disapproval translates into Democratic support. As for Texas, the state has been moving in the opposite direction. Once considered a safe Republican pickup, demographic changes have brought the state closer to becoming competitive. This was certainly reflected by Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who in the 2018 Texas Senate contest came within 2.5% of incumbent Republican Ted Cruz. Although likely not to flip to Biden in 2020, Texas's 41 electoral votes may be very competitive as soon as 2024 and will potentially become the most crucial state for a prospective candidate to win in order to become president. As with the Trump and Clinton states, if Biden were to win any of these states, it would likely indicate a landslide defeat for the GOP, likely due to high turnout from either suburban working class voters or minorities for the Democrats.
I stand before you today to declare the silent majority is stronger than ever before.
The remaining states, which together account for 121 electoral votes, are in close contention for both campaigns. It is in these 8 battleground states where the election will be decided. We find the first battleground state in the Northeast, New Hampshire. Clinton edged out the state by fewer than 3,000 votes in 2016. However, polling greatly favors Biden as the current favorite. Trump has a negative 20% approval rating in the state compared to a +1 when he entered office in 2017. Biden would likely increase his support in the state with a vice presidential pick such as Elizabeth Warren, the popular senator from neighboring Massachusetts. Another factor to consider is the Democratic primary race which took place there in February, which was the second state to vote for the Democratic nominee. For this reason, Democratic campaigning in the region has dwarfed that of Republicans, reflected in the turnouts of both primaries. The GOP winning this state would certainly be a sign of a weakening stronghold in the Northeast for Democrats. Furthermore, it would signify that Trump would have retained the support of working-class whites on Election Day, implying that areas such as the Rust Belt and North Carolina would be unlikely to flip for the Democrats. Moving south, North Carolina contains nearly 4 times the electoral votes as New Hampshire, won by Obama in 2008, Romney in 2012, and Trump in 2016 by a margin of 3 points. The Democrats saw small gains in the state during the midterms, and Biden currently leads in the polls by a narrow margin. A Biden victory in the state would likely be a sign of an increased minority turnout in favor of the Democrats, as well as a strengthened support from suburban voters compared to Hillary Clinton. Furthermore, if Biden were to generate sufficient enthusiasm to win the state, the Senate race between incumbent Tom Tillis and Democratic challenger Cal Cunningham could result in a critical loss for the GOP. Neighboring North Carolina is Georgia, once a part of the Solid South, which consistently voted Republican alongside Alabama and South Carolina. Won by Trump in 2016 by roughly 200,000 votes, who maintains a lead as high as 8 points, it is unlikely that the state will flip this November without significant campaigning there by Biden. However, changing demographics, especially surrounding Atlanta, have shown the state moving to the left. By 2028 or even 2024, the state could be considered a toss-up. From Biden's perspective, a vice president such as Kamala Harris or Susan Rice could be an important choice in order to increase support by the large African American population in the state. Similar to Beto O'Rourke in Texas, Democrat Stacey Abrams put up quite the fight against GOP candidate Brian Kemp during the 2018 gubernatorial run. Accusations of voter suppression in the state, if true, would likely have meant that Abrams would have taken the election for the Democrats. If Biden were to maintain Georgia's gravitation to the left and take Georgia in 2020, it would suggest a likely defeat for President Trump and a loosening grip of the Republicans on the Southeast. Moving further south is perhaps the most crucial prize of the election, Florida. Garnering 29 electoral votes, the state will undoubtedly see large amount of campaigning by both parties. Florida has been historically known to vote for incumbents, seen in elections such as 2004 and 2012. Currently, Joe Biden leads Donald Trump in polls by 3.4 points despite Trump's 1.2 point victory over Clinton in 2016. The president has also lost 28% of his January 2017 approval rating, which now sits at 45%. Joe Biden's popularity among older voters, especially compared to Hillary Clinton, will be of great importance as 20.5% of Florida's population is over the age of 65. This was seen in the Democratic primary where he defeated Bernie Sanders by nearly 700,000 votes. If it is enough to win the state against Trump is another matter, for the state narrowly retained both its Republican governor and Senate seat in 2018. In order to increase Democratic support in the state, the Biden campaign could consider choosing a vice presidential nominee such as Congresswoman Val Demings. In any case, Florida will certainly be a testament to Donald Trump's ability to defend his gains in 2016 and Joe Biden's ability to go on the offensive and reestablish the Democratic foothold in the Sunshine State. The final battleground state of the Sun Belt is Arizona. Not having voted for a Democrat since 1996, the state has been a reliable GOP pickup for the last 2 decades. Unfortunately for Trump, recent polling, approval rating, and Senate elections have seen Arizona shifting towards the left. Currently, Joe Biden holds a 3.4% lead over the president, and perhaps more importantly, polling for the 2020 Senate race between incumbent Republican Martha McSally and Democratic challenger Mark Kelly shows Kelly up by double digits. While a state doesn't certainly always have to vote the same way in both Senate and presidential races, the popularity of Kelly will certainly generate enthusiasm for the Democratic Party. Furthermore, the family of late GOP Senator John McCain, who was very popular in the state, has endorsed Joe Biden over Trump, perhaps due to the feud the president had with the senator. A victory in Arizona for Biden would mark a changing political climate in the Southwest, where Republican blue-collar voters lose their majority to urban centers of Phoenix and Tucson. The shift of Arizona, whether Trump defends the state or not, demonstrates the movement to the left taking place throughout the region, seen in Nevada, Colorado, and in the future, possibly Texas. Perhaps the most influential region of the 2020 election is the Rust Belt, containing the final 3 toss-up states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. With a combined 46 electoral votes, these Midwestern states also saw extremely narrow margins of victory for the GOP in 2016. Consistently won by the Democrats in the past, the so-called blue wall was breached by Donald Trump's appeal to working-class whites, especially in the rural areas of each state. Despite Trump's victory there, he will certainly have to focus on the area in order to maintain his popularity there in November. Currently, Joe Biden leads Trump in Wisconsin by 5.4%, Pennsylvania by 5.6%, and Michigan by 8%. Furthermore, Trump's disapproval rating in these states averages 54%. The Rust Belt has also seen a Democratic shift during the 2018 midterms, positive polling data for Democratic Senator Gary Peters in Michigan, as well as strong turnout for Biden during the Democratic primaries, especially in comparison to Hillary Clinton. Considering that this area of the country is the most vulnerable to President Trump, it is a reasonable assumption to make that the Biden campaign will focus a large effort on these states. Joe Biden will also likely invoke his previous presidential actions during the Great Recession, where the Obama administration bailed out the crucial auto industry in the region. Undoubtedly, it will be this region of the country that will dominate each campaign's strategy, putting to the test each candidate's ability to appeal to the white working class, and for Biden, increase minority turnout from Clinton's 2016 run. Factors such as Black Lives Matter and the coronavirus pandemic in cities such as Philadelphia and Detroit will certainly be crucial in tipping the scales of the election as a whole. With the primaries coming to a close, campaigning will soon go into full swing for both parties. Armed with an overview of the Electoral College, I hope this video helps guide your decision making when considering the outcome of the election this fall. I encourage you to also check out other videos discussing the influencing factors on the Electoral College, and above all else to go out and vote if you can this November.